I wanted to touch on sort of, and I know you've addressed this in the past, but in terms of how, you come to projects or projects come to you, and I know you've said in the past that really what it boils down to is you just listen, and you try to listen to as much good stuff as you can and let that sort of guide you into how you plan with working people, so if you can kind of talk about that.
Well, about
just in terms of music production and how do you end up in the studio with Jeff Bridges?
Oh well, or it's different with each person, but
true.
But certainly, I'm not. The one bad experience I've had one bad experience over and over since I've been doing this music for 50 years, and my policy was always to be the worst guy in the band, because I thought if I'm the best guy in the band, then I'm in trouble. I'm dragging the rest of these guys along with me, and I'm no good. So I would always want to be the worst guy in the band, but then there was always one guy who, because he was, better than me, would want to tell me what to play. And that is the biggest bummer of all, somebody telling you what to play, because you can't play, because music isn't hitting notes. Singing is singing. It's the bigger thing. It's resonating and radiating, and it's not hitting a note.
Right.
But so I never tell anybody what to play. The cat comes in. I feel like if the first thing the guy plays is almost always 99% of the time, it's the best thing he's going to come up with. So I try to encourage people. I try to accept what they give us, and then if at the end when you're mixing it, if it doesn't fit, just let it go. The idea of like standing over someone and saying play it this way, then I should just play it myself,
right?
And not torture this poor person.
Have you ever been surprised in a situation like that with what people, or are you always you sort of know, like you said, that whatever they come up with initially is probably going to be the best?
Oh no, I'm surprised all the time. You mean like by what people come up with?
Yeah, when you stand back and let people, because
that's when it's fun. That's when you are surprised. If you're telling them what to play, you're never surprised. You're just sort of you're in an obsessive loop of what you already know. And you don't get out of it. You don't grow. So I like the other thing. I like do that and let them go, and then this thing happens, and you can watch it and be there to encourage, and be there to support, and to help to record it ultimately.
Yeah.
One of the things we do in the studio is as soon as we go in, we're recording, no matter what happens. We don't wait and okay, now you're rolling. You're just always rolling.
Yeah.
So, so the process doesn't impose on the event.
Right.
The people can get together and play, and as it happens, you'll have it.
Yeah. Is it still easy to be a fan after all these years? Is that sort of one of the things that probably keeps you going back into the studio?
Well, I'm a fan. I'm a fanatic about music being good, music being beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't like bad music, and I don't like bad art, and I try to resist creating any of that myself. I think I've been pretty successful, even though a lot of the things I haven't made a lot of money. I don't feel like any of them have just been bad.
Right.
So
you're sleeping okay at night.
I'm sleeping all right. Yeah.
I wanted to ask too about kind of, because you worked with, we just mentioned Jeff Bridges, but there's been sort of some unlikely pairings in your past. I'm thinking like of Robert Plant and Alison Krauss, and sort of how you steer what would appear on paper to be sort of an unlikely pair, and how much of that is just sort of their own alchemy, and how much of that is you sort of being
well, most of it was their own alchemy,
yeah.
I will say. But part of the listening thing you were talking about, listening things into existence, I did a good example of it is Robert and Alison. That's actually Raising Sand's a great example of it, but the Greg Allman record's a great example of it too. I made a record with Greg Allman, and he wanted to do all these R&B tunes from the 40s and 50s, And so I started listening through to all that stuff, and you could hear immediately, I can hear Greg's tone singing that. So the thing to do is to unhook from all of these ideas of genres and all this stuff. Like, well, he's a rock guy and she's a country guy. It doesn't matter if the backbeat, I don't care if a drum's hitting the backbeat or a mandolin's hitting the backbeat. I just care who's hitting the backbeat,
Right.
and where it is and how it feels, you know. And, you know, there's a downbeat, there's a backbeat, there's an upbeat, there are notes. It's all music, you know. It doesn't matter what kind of person's making it, from what country or anything
Right.
else. If you let go of all of that stuff, it's just a downbeat and a backbeat, and it's the way it feels. So with Robert Nelson, rather than bag him into, he's a hard rock guy, you know, he's always done Mississippi music,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So you sort of take him to Appalachia and teach him an Appalachian song, and he turns that into whatever, just like he took, you know, a Memphis Mini tune and turned it into a Led Zeppelin tune. You know, give him a Doc Watson tune,
Right.
and he'll turn that into whatever it is going on now. So if you let go of the categories and the genres and just treat people as people and tone as pure tone, you know, then you can start storytelling.
Yeah. You've worked in a variety. You have the theater project coming up next April, I think.
Yeah,
Is it
well,
premiering?
yeah, we start rehearsals next month.
And I wondered, is there anything that you would want to tackle that you have not yet tackled?
God, everything. You know, I mean, in the arts, you mean?
Yeah. Well, or life in general.
I don't know. You know where I'm going from here? When I was a kid, growing up in Fort Worth, you know, we played Jimmy Reed and Buddy Holly and Chuck Berry. You know, those were sort of the three cats when we were kids. So I'm leaving here to go to St. Louis.
Okay.
And I'm meeting with Chuck Berry. I may be going to produce a record with Chuck Berry, which would be, for me, it'd be like, you know, he hadn't made a record for 30 years or something like that.
Yeah.
He's been writing songs all these years. And probably, y'all don't even know who Chuck Berry is, right? You know Chuck Berry? Okay, good. Well, I don't know, man. How old are you? 18? 15?
Yeah.
And you know Chuck Berry? It's beautiful.
See, the future is secure.
Well, I'm glad. You know, I'm glad that the people still. I wasn't kidding, because I don't know like how far removed everything is. You know, but that to me would be like, I feel like if there's anything I know how to do, it's make a Chuck Berry record. You know, it's like
That's down
it's
in
like
the
mother's
DNA.
milk right there. You know?
Is there anyone that you see out there that you look at that you think that could be interesting?
I see Betty Buckley. Is that Betty out there?
Oh,
Yeah. She's pretty interesting. We made a killer record together.
Yeah,
It's
that's
coming out
right.
pretty soon.
Yeah.
Interesting. Another one of those non-genre records, wouldn't you say? It's not. It's not jazz. It's not. It's not anything. It's just Betty. You know, it's just Betty. She's an unbelievable singer.
Yeah.
Seriously, so much better a singer than anybody has any idea about, you know, because she's kind of been bagged too, and she's a Broadway singer or jazz, you know, whatever. She's a storyteller, you know.
Yeah.
Take all that away. Remember Tender Mercies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I'll open it up to questions.
Sure.
From the audience, if there are any. Yes.
Yes, hi, my name is Roberto. As a young musician and someone who is exposed to recording almost every day, half of the day spent recording my own band and various other bands in my school, I want to know what would be the best way, because I am young and in this new age of recording, Pro Tools and the computer running the studio almost, what would be the best way to keep it in an analog form and then also distribute it over, let's say, the internet? And what would be the best way to keep that form true?
Well, first of all, you know, one of the things we do to upconvert, if you're in a studio that only has Pro Tools, there are a lot of other things you can do to make a more dense signal. Like we use all, you know. Listen, I was at Steve Jobs' house. I just want to say this. I was at Steve's house about 6 months ago or something like that, and we were talking, and he said, "What are you working on, T-Bone?" And I said, "I'm working on new analog storage media." And he went, he went like,
Then he threw you out of the hut.
yeah, he went like what? And I said, well, like holograms, for instance. And he went like this again. He said, well, you know, it's never going back, T-Bone. And I said, well, you know, but it could go forward, you know, because analog is not going to disappear. We are analog, you know. And, so we use a lot. I only in the last couple of years have I bought a new guitar. Until 2 years ago, every guitar I had was made before 1960, and it's not because it's vintage, but because there was equipment made back then with Class A electronics that is the electronics are much stronger. I was in Gruen's guitar shop not long ago, and there was an old Gretsch Duo Jet, and there was a new Gretsch Duo Jet, and there was this kid in there, like a 13-year-old kid who had leukemia and was dying, but he was a genius guitar player, and he was an expert about all this stuff. And I said, okay, which one of these guitars, you want to play these guitars and tell me which one's better? He said, I don't even have to play it. Just look at, he said, look at the grunge on that pickup, and I can tell you that's the better guitar, you know. So that grunge on the pickup, that's what you want, you know. You want the stuff, the material stuff. You don't want to just make things that are ones and zeros, because the other thing is they'll go away. You know, what do you play your floppy disks on now, you know, right? All of this stuff, everything, MP3 is as dead a medium as 8-track tape cartridges, you know. It's a dead medium. So don't, listen, what we do is we try to make everything of archival quality. We only use the highest quality of everything, because I want this, I'm 63, I've been doing it for almost 50 years, you know, 45 years. And the stuff I do, I want, it's egotistical or whatever, but I want it to be around forever. I don't want it to be around for 3 more years and then have it disappear in a bad format. And all I've got is an MP3 to show for it, you know, because you can't up-convert an MP3 to 24-bit 96K. You just can't get there. You can't add that much back in because too much has been taken away. So first of all, don't work at a format lower than 2496, you know, if you can help it. Secondly, oh, here's the thing Steve said after our conversation. He said, well, I have to admit, even I still prefer vinyl through a valve amp. Steve Jobs said that. He's an audiophile, you know. He's doing this other thing because he was building this business, you know. But we can't turn our backs on the things that are actually, you don't want to trade in a really beautiful sounding guitar for a junky electronic guitar just because you can put it in your pocket, you know. If it sounds bad, it is bad as far as I'm concerned. The corollary of Duke Ellington's, if it sounds good, it is good, you know. So first of all, use absolutely the highest quality format you can. Then everything you use the highest quality. Microphones, speakers, cable, guitars, amplifiers. Pay attention, pay deep attention to every detail that you're recording, because it's all crucial. You know, you're recording something and it's going to be part of your life for the rest of your life. And, you know, if you could get the best amp you can, get the most resonant, get all the sounds on the floor as resonant and deep as you can, and then do the most transparent recording of it. And that, you know, that's the best you could do for the moment. Later on, we'll be developing new things for you to work with that'll sound better.
So check back in a few years.
Yeah, check back. It's about 5 more years. We'll have right on.